Cool. We're live.
Commission staff. Speakers will be called in the order in which their names are drawn. If your name is called to offer public comment, we ask that you approach the microphone and line up in the order in which your name is called. When it's your turn to speak, please say your name and then spell your name and then offer your comments. Each speaker will have 2 minutes. We have allotted a total of 30 minutes for public comment. Our first speaker is Michael Rogers. Good to go, Mr. Rogers.
How you doing? This on?
Right there.
Hello? How you doing? My name is Michael Rogers, MICHAEL ROGERS. My two biggest concerns are about CPD staffing levels and the deployment. When the mayor took office in May of 2019, there were 13,302 officers. There's currently 11,710 officers. That's a net loss of 1,592 officers. This will be the fourth year we have lost more officers than we have hired. Just this year, we started with 11,900 officers. There's currently, as of December 1st, 11,710 officers. That's a net loss of 190 officers year to date. Not only are the staffing levels a concern of mine, but where the 11,710 officers are deployed is also a very big concern of mine. Going by the Inspector General's data, that's where I've gotten all this information. Roughly 53% of the officers are in the districts. The other 47% are in specialized units throughout the city. I've kind of took a close look at some of this data and what it's mean, for response times. Just last year, there was roughly 400,000 priority 1 and 2 calls that weren't answered because we didn't have resources to go to those calls. So I would like to know, from either the mayor's office or from the superintendent's office, what's being done to address these concerns. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Our next speaker is Dan Butterworth.
This is a common problem. Good evening. My name is Dan Butterworth, DanButterworth. Just wanted to say thank you to the members of the commission for allowing me to be here to speak. I am running for the district council in the 16th police district, which represents the northwest side of the city, over 200,000 Chicagoans, and approximately 25% of CPD's sworn officers live within our district. First, I want to say, just serving my community is at the core. This council affords the perfect opportunity for citizens and residents to get involved, to work with other bright, energetic, and community-oriented leaders throughout the city to further our shared goal. That shared goal is a Chicago that is safe for everyone, has great schools in every neighborhood, and provides the economic opportunities for growth for all. I've spent some time reviewing the CCPSA's annual report on the proposed Chicago police budget, and I would like to thank you for the detailed analysis, the very thorough and what I believe to be thoughtful commentary and goals laid out. Having such a high proportion of officers in my district, this mirrors the conversations I have with them on nearly a daily basis. The recommendations, I think, get to specifically what is the issue with CPD, and that is a failure of leadership. Since 2016, the 16th district has seen a 25% reduction in officers, from 235 down to 175 today. Our district, as I mentioned, is the second largest in the city, covering 30 square miles. Our district frequently has to run one officer beat cars on shifts at all times throughout the day, which is incredibly dangerous for both citizens and officers alike. Should an officer encounter a violent domestic incident or any other issue with a hostile individual, backup is likely nowhere near to be found. Overall, like many areas of the city, crime is up in our district, 42% year over year. Burglaries are up 53%, vehicle thefts up 60%. That's 434 of my neighbors who've had their vehicles stolen this year. Last week.
Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Butterworth. Our next speaker is Veronica.
Spelling the last name got me.
Veronica
We didn't count that.
Ariola.
Thank you. Veronica Ariola, Veronica Veronica, Ariola Arreola. Thank you for having this meeting and allowing us to speak. I am a resident of the 24th District and also a candidate for the 24th Police District Council. I wanted to take this time to thank the Commission for its hard work to alert the public on the weaknesses of the Criminal Enterprise Information System. Chicago taxpayers have paid out at least $250 million in police-related settlements during the years of 2018, 2019, and 2020 combined. Any advances and policies enacted need to center the safety of people, and that includes holding officers accountable for any harm that they do to our neighbors, as well as wasting our tax dollars that could go towards violence prevention, including housing, job training, funding our public education system and healthcare. And again, thank you so much for your work.
Thank you. We've reached the end of our. There's no more, right? We reached the end of our public comment period. Thank you again to everyone who spoke today. We value your input. The next order of business is approval of minutes. Before today's meeting, draft minutes of the commission's meetings on September 29th, October 24th, and October 27th were shared with all commissioners. Are there any corrections to the draft minutes that have been circulated? If there are no corrections, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the commission September 29th, October 24th, and October 27th meeting minutes?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Nellis and seconded by Commissioner Gomez to adopt the minutes of the commission September 29th, October 24th, and October 27th minutes. Commissioner Gomez has seconded. Is there any debate on the motion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Those in favor of adopting the motion to approve the minutes of the commission September 29th, October 24th, October 27th meetings, please say aye.
Aye.
It's an aye from Commissioner Brown via text. All those opposed? The ayes have it and the motion carries. The minutes are approved. The next order of business is committee reports. First, we'll hear from the COPA committee. Commissioner Loiza.
Hi, good evening. I'm Eva Loiza. I'm on the COPA committee with Commissioner Beth Brown. Sorry, guys, if I can hear me. There we go. Let's start again. Can you hear me now? Okay. Hi, I'm Eva Loiza. I am on the COPA committee with Commissioner Beth Brown. We have been very fortunate to be able to establish a very cooperative relationship with COPA. And we have been meeting bi-weekly with Chief Administrator Andrea Kirsten and various COPA senior staff members. We are very pleased about the work they are doing to fill out their Policy Research and Analysis Division under the leadership of Deputy Chief Justin Escamilla. They have prepared a presentation about what their plan unit will do and how it relates to other entities inside and outside of COPA. That is very helpful for any agency doing work with them to see and hear. As part of the commission's work every year, we are required to establish goals for COPA, the police board, and the police department. To that end, Chief Administrator Kirsten, with respect to COPA's goals, met with the committee and she discussed COPA's 2023 SMART goals. She's going to be doing a presentation later in this process, and so I don't want to steal her thunder. But a SMART goal is one that is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. That's the process that she used to create her goals, along with her leadership team, and she will give you more information about that when she provides her presentation. As a preview, they submitted goals in the following areas: administration, communication, legal, policy, research and analysis, and investigations. Chief Kirsten went through the goals and we gave her feedback on those goals, such as things that needed to be clarified or more specific, as well as which goals needed timelines or dates. Chief Kirsten is in the process of going back to her team to do some revisions on those goals based on our feedback, and then she will resubmit the goals to us. We are very pleased with the progress and the cooperation so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Loizan. Next, we have a report from the CPD Budget and Resource Allocation Committee. Commissioner Gomez.
Everyone, can people hear me through the mask? All right, maybe I'll speak up a little more. Is that better? Okay, great. So thank you all for being here, and thank you, President Driver. My name is Osvaldo Gomez, and together with Commissioner Driver here, we make up the CPD Budget and Resource Allocations Committee. Now, the ordinance that created the Community Commission says that every year, the Commission must review the police department budget, and before the City Council votes, the Commission must comment and make recommendations on this budget. As part of our budget review process, we had a special public meeting on October 24th, where Police Superintendent Brown and members of his command staff actually came in and answered some of our questions. After that, on November 3rd, before the City Council voted on the city budget, the Commission issued its report on said budget. We found out a lot of important things. Around 85% of the CPD's budget goes just to pay personnel. So the Commission's report mostly focused on how the department uses its workforce. The report raised concerns about whether the police department is utilizing its workforce in ways that best meet the city's public safety needs. There were a lot of things that were brought forward and a lot of questions and concerns that came from that report. I'm going to read a few of them to remind us. Is the department, that is the police department, committing enough staff resources so that it can meet its goal of rolling out its new community policing program at a citywide level? Are enough patrol officers working in the same places and at the same time so that they can build knowledge and relationships that allow them to do their work more effectively? Are enough patrol officers able to work with the same supervisors long enough to develop relationships that set officers up to succeed and result in greater accountability? Are there significant disparities in response times between predominantly Black neighborhoods and other neighborhoods, which put residents of those communities at much greater risk of being injured or killed? Is the department doing enough to address the causes of officer attrition, which has significantly depleted the workforce? And does the department have effective systems to identify and address the drivers of police misconduct settlements, which consistently cost more than $80 million? Now, the report that we issued also included a detailed list of questions for the department, which would help us get insight into the issues that were reported. The committee that we make up is working on a plan to follow up on the questions that the Commission asked and the commitments CPD has made to answer our questions and to provide more information. Our goal is to address the issues raised in the budget report over the course of the next year. The Commission will plan to hold a series of public meetings focused on each of the different areas that were highlighted in the Commission's report. That will give us an opportunity to work with the CPD on a plan to share the information that CPD offers to provide at the October 24th meeting and the additional information the Commission has requested in writing. This process will also allow us to dig deeper on each of the very important and complicated issues that were highlighted in the budget report. Our goal is to make substantial progress over the entirety of next year before the next city budget process begins. Now, in addition, during the budget process, we heard many concerns about officer wellness and whether CPD is doing enough to provide necessary support to its employees. The Commission is extremely concerned about those issues, and the Commission made a commitment to addressing issues of officer wellness at a future meeting that will be devoted solely to those issues. That will be part of the Commission's very important focus throughout the next year. Thank you for your time. Commissioner Driver, back to you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gomez. Next, we have a report from the Chicago Police Department. Chicago Police Department Goal Setting and Performance Assessment Committee. Commissioner Nellis.
Commissioner Beth Brown, who's attending virtually. We are the chairs of the CPD Goal Setting and Performance Assessment Committee. Pursuant to the ordinance, section 2-80-100 of the Empowering Communities for Public Safety Ordinance, the Chicago Police Superintendent is required to submit annual goals to the Commission for our review and feedback. That happened on December 1st of this year, 2022, where the CPD sent the Commission a letter identifying 3 goals for 2023. We've wrestled with this and want to make sure that we're doing well by the community. And so we've decided that we feel the process for finalizing the Chicago Police Department goals should be an open and transparent process in order to allow for the greatest amount of community feedback into Chicago Police Department's goals, as well as to hold both CPD and this commission accountable to our responsibilities under the ordinance. So in the spirit of collaboration between the community, the commission, and the Chicago Police Department, I would now like to read the 3 goals that we received from the Chicago Police Department per letter December 1st of 2022. Equity goal, this is from the letter that we received on December 1st. Equity goal number 1, to advance the citywide desired result around workforce diversity, the department's 2023 goal is to recruit new officers possessing diverse backgrounds and life experiences that reflect the diversity of our city and will be measured by comparing the demographics of the department to those of the city. Equity goal number 2, to advance the citywide desired result around public safety, CPD's 2023 goal is to expand the neighborhood policing initiative to additional districts by the end of 2023 to conduct more problem-solving activities to meet community needs. Equity goal number 3, to advance the citywide desired result around community engagement, CPD's 2023 goal is to continually seek public input on all new policies created in response to transforming the department and working toward reform through the consent decree. Since receiving these goals, Beth and I have been scheduling meetings with various CPD officials to further discuss and understand these goals. In these meetings and in future meetings this month, we will determine whether this is the full spectrum of goals that CPD has for 2023. We will also provide our input and feedback on those goals and other goals not included that we feel are important as a commission. Our goal is to work with CPD to create a more comprehensive set of goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely, and tied to the CPD budget and allocation of its resources, the CPD resources. As such, our goal is to work with CPD to define a set of goals that can be measured and monitored for successful completion in monthly and quarterly increments throughout 2023. With a timeline and measurements, we believe CPD will be able to share learnings with the public as to why they either exceeded their goals or did not meet their goals. This is the kind of open, transparent, and public process that we desire and believe is needed to earn public trust for the department and its outcomes. By way of process now, the Commission will formally respond to this December 1st letter by December 31st. After our formal response, which we will also make public, we will then continue to engage in a series of meetings in January with CPD to finalize those goals by the end of January 2023. Once finalized, we will also share those goals with the public at our January or February meeting. During this process, and I can't emphasize this enough, it's one of the reasons why we decided to read the goals out tonight. During this process, we ask for public comment and feedback and ask you to submit that feedback on CPD's goals, those 3 goals currently, through email at CommunityCommissionPublicComment. That is all one word, CommunityCommissionPublicComment at cityofchicago.org. Or you can call the commission at 312-742-2838. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Nellis. Next, we have a report from Chicago Police Department Policy Review and Development Committee. Commissioner Terry.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Driver. I'm Ramel Terry, along with Commissioner Goizon. We represent the CPD Policy Review and Development Committee. The committee is continuing work with CPD leadership to establish a process for drafting and reviewing CPD directives. The commission has the authority to draft general orders for CPD, and before any general order can go into effect, it needs to come to the commission to be voted on and have the support of this commission. So the commission can weigh in with CPD directives that aren't general orders that help to encourage and gather and lift up any public input on those policies. The ordinance that created the commission lays out a process for the commission's role in policy making, but the whole process is complex, and there are very important details that need to be filled in beyond what's in the ordinance. The commission and CPD takes this process very seriously, and we are working hard to make sure we have the process that produces policies that reflect and respond to the concerns of Chicago community members. We're committed to building a strong working relationships with CPD to ensure that the commission can fulfill its goals under this ordinance. So that concludes our report. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. Next, we have a report from the Non-Citizen Advisory Council Committee. Commissioner Gomez.
Hi, everyone, it's me again. Like I said, my name is Oswaldo Gomez, and together with Commissioner Beth Brown, who's joining us virtually, we make up the Non-Citizen Advisory Council Committee. I know that's a lot to remember. The ordinance that created the Community Commission says that the Commission must create a Non-Citizen Advisory Council. It's a way of ensuring that the perspective and experiences of non-citizen and new Chicagoans are included in our Commission's work. We had an open application process to participate in the Advisory Council, and we're now interviewing the current candidates. Now, the ordinance doesn't say how many people should be on the council, and we want the council to be as inclusive as possible. So we're going to appoint a group of Advisory Council members first in January, so that they'll be ready to work by February. We're going to keep the application process open and continue to interview people who are interested in order to keep building and strengthening the Advisory Council over time. If you know anyone that would be interested, they can apply through the Commission's website. That's the end of the report. Commissioner Garber?
Thank you, Commissioner Gomez. Next, we have a report from the Police Board Committee. Commissioner Troncoso.
Can you hear me? Thank you. I'm Isaac Troncoso, and with Commissioner Yvette Loizon, I'm on the Police Board Committee. The Police Board Committee is nearing completion of its first round interview process to fill the 3 vacant positions on the Police Board. As we've described in previous Commission meetings, the law that created the Community Commission gave the Commission responsibility for nominating candidates to serve on the Police Board. The mayor has the final say on who's on the Police Board, but the mayor can only choose from a list created by the Commission. To help ensure that Police Board members are representative of our entire city, the Commission developed an open selection process for Police Board members. The committee conducted a very thorough outreach process. Anyone who was interested in serving on the Police Board was able to fill out an application on the Commission's website. At the conclusion of the application period, the committee had received 10 applications to fill 3 Police Board vacancies. Since our November meeting, the committee reviewed the materials submitted by the 10 applicants to determine whether they appeared to meet the minimum qualifications to serve on the Police Board. As a result of that effort, 8 applicants were offered an opportunity to participate in the first round interview process, and all 8 accepted. The committee scheduled and interviewed all 8 applicants this past week. It completed its final first round interview on Friday evening, December 9th. Second round interviews will proceed in earnest as soon as practicable. The committee is optimistic that the commission will be in the position to make recommendations to the mayor in the early days of the new year. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Troncoso. The next order of business is new business. Can you all hear me still? Tonight will be the first step in the public process for setting annual goals for the police superintendent, the COPA chief administrator, and the president of the police board. As you heard in the committee reports, at the end of every year, the commission is required to work with the police superintendent, the COPA chief administrator, and the police board to set goals for the next year. The process started on December 1st, when the superintendent, the COPA chief, and the police board president all submitted draft goals. The committees have been reviewing the draft goals. During December, the committees will work on the drafts and develop their own recommendations for what should be included in the goals. At the end of December, after the commission has gone back and forth with CPD, COPA, and the police board, the commission will give the superintendent, the chief administrator, and the president of the police board the commission's proposal for goals for next year. Then they will have around 2 weeks to propose changes to what the commission has laid out. The commission will take that input and come up with the final goals by the end of January. Then towards the end of next year, the commission will do a written evaluation of the progress CPD has made towards reaching those goals. And we'll work together again to set goals for the following year. The ordinance doesn't say that the draft goals have to be made public, but COPA and the police board both volunteered to make their goals public before they are finalized. They thought there was value in sharing the goals earlier in the process in order to educate people about the goals they are thinking about, and to provide more of an opportunity to get public input before the goals are finalized at the end of January. CPD also submitted goals, and they will be the subject of meetings with the commission and will be shared at a future commission meeting. This is the first time we've all been through this collaborative process, and we're all figuring out how to make it work most effectively. The commission is comfortable with different approaches to the process from COPA, the police board, and CPD, as long as they lead to the creation of impactful goals. First, I'd like to call up Police Board President Guion Foreman and Police Board Executive Director Max Caproni to share some information about the police board's goals.
Hello, good evening. Executive Director Caproni will be with us shortly. My name is Guion Foreman. I'm the president of the Chicago Police Board. And so we're at the end of this process, right? So what the police board is responsible for is the primary thing that we're responsible for is reviewing cases where police officers have been accused of breaking a rule, and anything from 30 days of punishment all the way up to termination. It's the primary thing. There's some little nuanced differences that I probably could get into with a little bit more detail, but that's the primary thing that we do. Secondarily, and I'll talk about some of this, we're responsible for reviewing when someone applies to be a police officer and they're turned down and they appeal. So we're also now responsible for reviewing those appeals. So those are kind of the two primary things. So we came up with a list. The first one, and many of these are going to be based on consent decree. So first is conclude the development of the training curriculum and training policy as required by the consent decree. There are certain specific paragraphs. I can get you guys the specific paragraphs if you would like that. And so right now in the consent decree, we have preliminary compliance in that one category. It's an ongoing process, right? So it's not that we're not going to finish right away. It's an ongoing process for us. Second, achieve full compliance with paragraphs 540 through 543. So those are very specific things. So when we review a case, we have to read the transcripts, we have to watch the videos, we have to certify that we did this. So some of these are very specific to our hearings, right? So just to ensure that we are all doing what we're supposed to do. Next, adopt rules of procedure for considering appeals by persons seeking removal from police departments' criminal enterprise information systems within 6 months of the launch of CEIS. So the police board will be the body that is responsible when someone appeals. Whenever CEIS is launched, if it's launched, we will be the body that's responsible for reviewing those appeals. Next, discuss at the consent decree, paragraph 565, quarterly meetings to discuss problems and possible solutions. So quarterly, we meet with COPA, we meet with now the commission joins the meetings now, as well as the IG, and we communicate basically what's going on in the police department. If it's something we think that COPA is not doing right, we bring it to the table. They may tell us, well, no, this is what's really happening. It gives us a full perspective. I can see what's happening from the commission from my seat, and I can see what's happening at COPA from my seat, but I don't know what's happening from their seat. So this quarterly meeting gives us an opportunity for information to go back and forth. And for me, it's a good thing, right? It's a transparent thing. But it's not all. Sometimes it's friendly to discuss with each other to get a different perspective on the work that each of us do, with the goal of how do we better the entire process. Next, be available to meet with the commission representatives to discuss the police board's experience for the position assessors. So the police board was formally responsible for selecting the candidates for police superintendent. It's a tough job. So we volunteered to kind of download to the commission, right? It takes a lot of time. It takes time away from your life. It's a hard process. It's a long process, right? And so in order to make the process as easy as possible, we thought it made sense for us to be available just to kind of share our experience. Next, engage in individual conversation with CPD and COPA chief to prepare for monthly police board meetings and discuss other police-related matters. So I have not made it a point to speak with chief monthly before the meetings, but I do it with the superintendent. And it has been such a good process for us to ensure that the meetings are productive and that the follow-up is taking place, that we thought it would probably be a good idea for us to do that as well. It's nothing that we shouldn't be saying. It's no clandestine information, but just to make sure that we're going to have a good meeting, that are you hitting the goals, right? Maybe we have concerns internally at the police board, or they may have concerns about us, right? So it's a good opportunity one-on-one for me to talk with the different leaders of the different organizations. To improve the efficiency of the accountability process, communicate and work with the other agencies in police accountability system to emphasize the importance of an efficient disposition of each complaint of police misconduct and keeping delays to a minimum. Communicate to the attorneys representing in police board disciplinary cases the importance of an efficient disposition of each case and keeping delays to a minimum, with the goal of reducing the average amount of time from the filing of charges to the police board to the first day of the hearing and the final decision. Number 8, with the goal of making the deliberations and resolution of cases more equitable, communicate to the attorneys representing parties in police board disciplinary cases the importance of the boards receiving all relevant information allowed by law on respondents' prior work history, increasing information made part of the record and available to the police board for consideration. So, like, that probably doesn't really impact, you probably don't care about that so much, but it impacts our work a lot, right? It's the kind of thing that helps us, so we're not creating delays because we have to come back and say, give us this from the personnel file and that kind of thing. So it's really kind of specific in almost making our jobs a little bit more efficient. Ensure compliance with the municipal code's requirements by regarding board members' attendance at board meetings, including notifying the mayor if a board member misses more than 2 meetings. We haven't had that situation, but we want to ensure that we continue to have good participation. Ensure timely responses to all requests for more information and records from the Inspector General, Consent Decree Monitor, and members of the public via the Freedom of Information Act. And we get those all pretty regularly. Maintain transparency of the board's operations by timely posting of the board's website of police disciplinary case information, such as decisions, charges, scheduled hearings, reports. We try to do that almost immediately. And ensure that efficient use of resources by operating within the board's annual budget. I'll leave there, period. So, thank you, and if there's any questions, I can answer any questions.
So we won't be taking, yeah, so this isn't a hearing. I want to be very clear about that. It's just an opportunity for those who volunteered to participate to get some information to give you a chance to provide feedback in the coming weeks. Thank you, President Foreman.
Thank you.
Actually, I actually have a question. I
Okay.
apologize.
All right.
Thank you for your apology, Anthony. Quick question. I was just wondering, so, with your goal around adopting rules and procedures for appeals for removal from CEIS, commonly known as the gang database, could you speak more on how you envision that process to go when you guys are planning out what are your procedures going to be?
Well, I mean, typically we talk about it internally if there's any kind of expertise that's needed. A lot of times we first would go to our general counsel, find out what happens in other jurisdictions, what's legal, probably get some internal input. And we generally, anytime when there is some public comment, we have to put it out. So there's a standard procedure by which the way we do it. So it probably is not very different from the way that we would do any other policy that we would put out. But because this one is a little bit, more of a touchy subject, we probably would seek a little bit of counsel first, just to make sure that we are thinking this through all the way.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, President Foreman. Again, this isn't a hearing on the draft goals. Next, I'd like to call up COPA Chief Administrator Kirsten to share information about COPA's draft goals.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to come. I'm going to be really honest with the group and say that I was a little bit reluctant to come and talk about draft goals because our work isn't complete. As the leader for the Civilian Office of Police Accountability, COPA, it's really important to me that we always put our best foot forward when we engage the public. I want you to see what's representative of, complete thought and complete work, but I really recognize and understand the importance of having meaningful community input, and there is, that lacks when we wait until the product is complete in order to tell the community about it. So I thought better of it and decided to make us a little bit vulnerable and come here tonight to talk about draft goals, because when I really got to thinking about it, we have good things to say in this area. Goal setting for COPA is something that we take pretty seriously. I've been the chief administrator of this agency just since last winter. And one of the very first things that we set about to do is actually engage our staff. Everyone in the agency. We're an agency of about 150 people. And so we set about as a staff to think about collectively, what did we want our goals to be? As this agency that is tasked with investigating police misconduct, our goals and mandates sort of are set often by external entities, right? Like we have our ordinance, which lays down a lot of expectations about how we deliver our work product to the public. Then we also have the consent decree, which very specifically requires a lot of different aspects of compliance. And so sometimes it can feel like there's not a lot of wiggle room or space left for us as an agency to really take ownership over our path forward. But we found that by engaging the entire staff in that process starting in early 2022, it actually made this task of setting down to work with the commission for the first time ever to develop these goals pretty easy, in the sense that we have a clear direction. Goals are, of course, those milestones or markers that are guiding and charting your course towards whatever the destination is. And so if the consent decree, our supervisors, our full complement of leadership sat down, that's around 30-ish, 20-some people, sat down together. Units we work in and talk fair response about what the end of the day, the relations department, our messenger and voice about what we do within our legal team, who legal department both informs our investigative work. So they've got lawyers that help us analyze these cases, but they also deal with all of our general legal needs, right? We're a city agency that gets subpoenas and we have to appear and testify and things like that. So they also address just general legal concerns for the agency. And then also, what are the goals for the Policy Research and Analysis Division going to be? And lastly, what are our investigation goals? So as we sat down in these groups, we specifically divided people up so that you weren't just sitting in a group with everybody that worked in investigations or sitting in a group with everybody that worked with legal. Instead, we wanted kind of a cohort, several small cohorts that represented everything across the agency so that you were getting ideas and feedback and your group was coming up with goals based on other people's perception of your work within our agency. It wasn't just, this is my job, so I'm going to come up with these goals about what I do, but it was like, hey, as a supervising investigator, I have thoughts about how public affairs does community engagement and vice versa. And what we got out of that process was a really rich kind of mosaic of things that we wanted to really focus on in this coming year. And so I'll just highlight them because they are drafts. I'm not going to read them word for word necessarily, but try to give you a flavor for what it is that we're looking to develop. And as Commissioner Loizen talked about, we had our initial meeting with the COPA committee on these goals, and we're encouraged that the first perception is that we're on the right path, but we're looking forward to refining these and making them as measurable and relevant and attainable as possible. So I'll start with our administration goals. Again, those are the goals sort of internal to the agency, led by our agency's chief of staff, who's actually here with us tonight. First goal is going to be centered around hiring. COPA, along with the Chicago Police Department, as our first public commenter talked about, and really all other city agencies, we have vacancies that we are seeking to eliminate. But perhaps more importantly, we're really trying to reimagine how we want to approach hiring. So when we onboard new staff at our agency, they all go through an 8-week academy, COPA Academy. That's offered twice a year in the spring and in the fall. So this year in 2023, for the first time ever, we're really going to align our hiring sequences. We're also something that we want to bring to our staff in addition to the that were required to make sure that they have as part of the consent decree. And so there's 3 big topic areas where we're looking to deliver new subject matter expert training on for our staff. And the first of those is going to be officer involved shooting trainings. We had some staff members who handle our officer involved shootings now attend a training from an Ohio training interview technique. Training, the rules for all staff meetings on specific cadences. Also, as far as staff development, prioritizing overall office wellness, we're looking to partner with an organization that's going to be addressing our own agency's wellness. Clearly, much needed attention is paid to first responder trauma and wellness issues, but at our agency, we spend all day, every day, reviewing really traumatic incidents, whether it's on body-worn camera or talking to people who have lived experiences. So we too also need to make sure that we're maintaining the wellness of our staff as they endeavor to do that difficult work every day. So those are our administration goals. Our communication goals are going to be centered around delivering sort of a mini version of our COPA Academy to members of the public that want to attend. It's going to be called COPA People's Academy. It'll be an evening program, a couple hours a week for a few weeks, highlighting some of the most important parts of the training that we go through at COPA Academy. And when I say, making that available to the public, I'm talking about sort of 3 big stakeholders. First and foremost, just regular old residents of the city of Chicago who may or may not have any background or interest in public safety issues, right? Just our neighbors and the residents of our city. That's part of the community that we're looking to engage here. But also law enforcement, whether that's CPD in their free time or other law enforcement professionals, past or present. And then lastly, it would be other practitioners of this work. Chicago really is a leader when it comes to civilian-led investigations of police misconduct. And whenever we speak at other conferences and things like that, we are constantly asked for opportunities to learn about our training, to participate in our training by people who do this work in cities across the country. So we're excited to have it have a virtual component so that people in other cities can also be present and participate and hopefully learn and share sort of what our methodology has been to our training. Another communication goal is going to be to reconstitute our Community Advisory Council. When COPA launched in 2017, we had our own advisory council. Even some illustrious members like Commissioner Terry was on that original commission, or council rather. But it is time under new leadership and a lot of change at the agency to revive that body and to have the important work that they do be represented in our day-to-day life at COPA. So we're looking to launch that process early in 2023. And then we're also going to do something a little bit different, sort of flip the script on this idea that we have a group of staff members in our communications department who are our case liaisons. And their job is largely to field phone calls and answer questions from complainants or officers who want to know about the status of their case. The way that work has typically been generated is we wait for a call, right? We wait for somebody, typically somebody who's frustrated by the amount of time it's taken or anything like that, or they're confused about the process, to reach out and ask for more information. So this goal with respect to contacting individuals is flipping the script on that and saying that our case liaisons are going to proactively contact people with cases that have been pending over a specific amount of time, not wait for a misunderstanding or a complaint or someone wanting more information, but doing proactive outreach, which I think is going to be a really important sort of change in mentality with respect to that issue. Also, we're going to continue to work in the Chicago Public Schools, delivering our mock investigations and our Know Your Rights campaigns, looking to expand that partnership in the next year. I'll move on to legal goals too. Much like President Foreman was talking about, the consent decree sets out a lot of goals. Our legal department handles most of our compliance issues, or at least sort of sets the path for compliance for us. So they've laid down some very ambitious goals about reaching 100% compliance for preliminary compliance, 100% secondary compliance, and 70% operational compliance by the end of the year. Our legal department also wants to revise some Fourth Amendment training and guidance to give internally to staff, as well as to create sort of a best practices in testifying at arbitrations and depositions. Our staff, our investigative unit in particular, once our work leaves our office, it's subject to all sorts of other proceedings and procedures. And so our folks have to go and testify at those, and we want to make sure they're as prepared as possible to meet that moment. And so we're looking to provide more robust training for them in this coming year. I'll move on to our Policy Research and Analysis Division. As I mentioned, it's a new division in that we've always done work in the policy research and analysis space, but this is the first time that we've had someone leading that unit with the academic research-driven background that we currently have in-house at COPA, and this will be the first time that we have 5 full-time positions devoted to supporting that work. So the first and foremost goal for this unit, Justin Escamilla, who's here tonight as well, our deputy chief that leads that group, he just came on board in October. So his very first goal is hire these spots. So we know we have to fill those vacancies, and our goal is to have all of those positions filled and operational so that the unit can officially launch by about midway through the year. In addition to that, he's laid out in these goals a lot of timeline around when he wants to start developing his research plan, how he wants to engage in stakeholders such as community, law enforcement, and others to inform the topics that we choose to do kind of a deeper dive on in the policy realm. And then also how their work is going to be communicated. How are we going to publish it? What is it going to look like? Who is our audience? As Commissioner Loizen pointed out, we have a much larger presentation just about that, but I won't get into many of those details this evening. And then lastly, the last unit that we developed goals for was investigations. Again, investigations is the most seminal part of what we do at COPA. It's what everyone typically kind of knows us for. It's either investigations or video release. However, being the biggest part of our agency, it's really important to understand understand that while this is what we identify with, we are much more than just the investigations that we complete. That's why I wanted to sort of walk you through the entirety of how we're trying to set goals for our agency. But with respect to investigations, the two biggest things for us as an agency that we are always constantly working on and going to focus on in this first year of goal setting with the new commission are about consistency, wanting our investigations to be consistent, both in the way that outcomes are reached, as well as the templates that are used to write them, the language that's used, the discipline that's recommended. Consistency in creating and maintaining consistency there is really important. And then, of course, timeliness. Everyone that works at COPA would agree with you that we are committed to trying to reduce the amount of time it takes to close these cases. Right now, on average, our case closure takes about 2 years. It's simply too long. It's too long for the officers involved. It's too long for the members of the public. So we've got some specific goals set around how we're going to create some efficiency to reduce that time limit to the extent possible. But what I think is really important to understand with respect to timeliness too, and we've talked about this with the COPA committee a little bit, is change is going to be incremental in that regard. It's going to take time because we want to maintain consistency, because we don't want to falter on the integrity of our work product. All the things I mentioned about training and the way we approach, our consent decree compliance, all of those things require these investigations to take place a certain way. And so we don't ever want to sacrifice or erode the investigative integrity in order to close cases faster. We have to close them right, and we have to close them well. But we always know we can identify ways to do that more efficiently and effectively. And that's what some of these goals for investigations set out. So with that, I'll stop blabbering on about the things I'm excited about for COPA in 2023. But if there's any questions.
Thank you again, Chief Gershman. Is there any questions or clarification from commissioners?
I just want to make a comment of saying thank you for coming to present preliminary goals, even though it made me feel uncomfortable.
It did make me uncomfortable.
I myself as a leader of an organization, but I do think that the community input and being knowledgeable of these goals and process how they're finalized is really important. And the opportunity for speaking to them. So thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to second what Cliff said to both you and to President Foreman, but also I just want to say, in addition to that the commission really wants to work closely with CPD COPA and the police board on all goal setting. And it's such a great pleasure for us when we have the opportunity to work collaboratively with the groups that we have oversight over. So, I just want to extend my appreciation to both police board and COPA, since I am the commissioner responsible for both of those committees along with Isaac and Beth. It's really a wonderful thing to us that we have the opportunity to work closely with you on these issues, and we're really looking forward to that collaboration across the board.
As are we. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, more?
I was making sure there were no other questions. Thank you. Thank you again. I would echo my fellow commissioners. Thank you for agreeing to present preliminary goals. This is not something that was required, and we really do appreciate you all taking the time today to come out and talk to us, and also inform the community about what your line of thinking is. And I'll also give us the opportunity to take instant public comment and kind of inform what our collaboration looks like going forward. So thank you again. And also, just as a reminder to the public, if you'd like to submit public comment or comments on any of our meetings, and you'd like to take it into account, we do read them. We read every single comment. That email address again is CommunityCommissionPublicComment@cityofchicago.org. The next order of business is reports and updates. First, I'd like to announce that tomorrow the commission will post draft bylaws on its website. The bylaws lay out how the commission is organized and the basic rules for how the commission will do its work. We welcome your input on bylaws, and the website will include information about how you can submit comments. We'll take comments until January 15th. We'll take comments until January 15th and then make changes to the bylaws before the commission's next meeting on January 26th. We hope to vote on the bylaws at the January meeting. We encourage you to look at the bylaws and send us your comments. The Community Commission's website is www.chicago.gov/community, Chicago Community Commission. Again, that's www.chicago.gov/Chicago Community Commission. Now I'd like to talk about an issue that the commission highlighted as a priority in its first public meeting. The Chicago Police Department's proposed criminal enterprise information system. At our last public meeting on November 28, 2022, we focused on CPD's proposed policy for a criminal enterprise information system. Representatives from CPD and the Office of the Inspector General came and spoke about the history of the CEIS and the current proposed policy. Commissioners asked questions about the policy. Last Tuesday, December 7th, the commission issued a public statement on a proposed CEIS policy. I'd like to read the statement now to make it a formal part of the commission's record. At the November 28, 2022 meeting of the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability, community members voiced persistent and troubling concerns and questions about the proposed Criminal Enterprise Information System, or CEIS, including questions about the law enforcement utility of the proposed system and the sufficiency of due process protections. Outstanding questions remain about the proposed CEIS process and procedure, the purpose and need for it, the circumstances in which this type of information is collected, who can access and use this type of information, and how people will learn that they have been included so that they can contest the decision if they so choose. Commissioners and community members also have serious questions about whether there are other ways to address law enforcement concerns without causing potentially devastating collateral consequences when an individual is included in a system like the CEIS. Testimonials in the Office of the Inspector General's first report indicated that many Chicagoans have had adverse experiences because of should not be adopted and implemented. The proposed CEIS policy also raises broader concerns about the collection of and access to other data that has the potential to impact people's lives and liberties adversely. The commission is beginning work to draft a general order that will establish guidelines for all CPD policies related to data collection and will work to strike the appropriate balance between law enforcement requires. The commission will work in collaboration with the police department on this general order. The commission looks forward to working with stakeholders to ensure that policies are effective and evidence-based and to promote public safety and address the needs and concerns of all Chicagoans. The next order of business is the announcement of the next commission meeting. The commission's next regular meeting will be held on Thursday, January 26, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. Thank you all for joining us here tonight. We hope to see you on January 26, 2023, and we hope that you all stay engaged and encourage people who you know to join this work. There being no further business before the commission, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.